Every night, there is the same brief instant before you fully sink into sleep, when the room still carries the scent of ordinary life, yet the darkness has begun to speak in its own language, a strange breath that isn't yours, a thin layer of air cooling ever so slightly, as if someone has stepped inside without opening the door. And then the largest, cruelest, oldest question rises from the deepest fear of humankind. If there is a predator that needs no fangs, no sword, only the knowledge of what you desire, how does it cross every lock on your will? The succubus, the shadow of seduction, is not merely a demon of sleepless nights. She is the accusation history hurls at desire, the warped mirror in which humans stare at what they crave, but dare not name. And tonight, we will enter that fog, where the boundary between dream and sin, between loneliness and devilry, is as thin as a single hair. Imagine an ancient city where sun-baked bricks still hold the heat of daylight, where great rivers run through it like the bloodstream of gods. In the room of a scribe, an oil lamp trembles, and the shadows of characters carved into clay stretch into claws. He has heard stories of night wind spirits, of feminine shadows gliding across rooftops, slipping through door cracks like smoke, sitting on the chest of the sleeping and drawing out their warmth. They do not call her by one name, because the truly terrifying things often wear many names the way they wear many masks. But they all know one truth. On certain nights, dreams are not a gift from the divine, but a visit from something hungry. In that world, where sandstorms have souls and darkness can wear a human shape, the succubus travels as a warning whispered from mouth to mouth. Desire, too, can be a doorway. Time passes, and empires rise and collapse like waves. Yet night is still night, and humans are still human, carrying the same easily stirred heart, the same body that knows craving, the same fear being seen through. In the traditions of the West, in lands where monotheistic faiths etched a strict order into the sky, that figure slowly takes on a moral cloak. The succubus is no longer a vague spirit of night wind. She becomes deliberate temptation, a strategy of shadow meant to bend the soul off its path. The stories begin to smell of courts and charges and confession inside narrow rooms. When a man wakes with his heart racing in shame like hot ash in his mouth, it is easy to say it was not his fault. Someone came. A female demon slipped through. An invisible hand pulled him down. In a medieval monastery, where cold stone bites to the bone and bells divide the day into orderly fragments, a young monk kneels in the night. His forehead touches the floor, his lips moving in prayers until they rasp. But when the candle dies, the darkness does not die with it. He hears the soft sweep of a skirt across stone, smells wildflowers blooming out of season, as if in a crypt. When he opens his eyes, there is no one, only the feeling of being placed beneath a gaze that is gentle yet unyielding. Then sleep drops like a net. In the dream, there is a woman so beautiful, every vow becomes fragile. Eyes that know everything he hides. She does not need force. She needs only to promise that with her, he will no longer be alone, will no longer tremble before the emptiness of a sealed life. When he jolts awake, cold sweat soaking his back, he is afraid and yearning at once, feeling fallen and comforted at once. And that contradiction, that ripped seam between instinct and doctrine, is what feeds the succubus into fullness within an entire age's imagination. Yet the succubus does not live only in churches and admonishing pages. She seeps into folk tales like fog, changing shape to fit each village's anxieties. Some say she is the shadow of a wronged woman, returning to reclaim what was stolen. Some say she is a demon wearing a beauty's skin, appearing only to those who carry betrayal in their hearts. Others say she comes to men who sleep alone on windy nights, far from wife and home, and leaves behind a nameless exhaustion. These stories become a shared cloak for everything unexplained. A strange illness, a wasting away, a dream too vivid, a fracture in morality. When there is no language for the body, people name a demon. Look closely, and you will see the same pattern. The succubus always appears where humans are weakest. Not weak from lack of strength, but weak from lack of honesty with themselves. She comes in the moment you want something and punish yourself for wanting it. She comes when you hunger for intimacy, yet fear being called sinful. She comes when you thirst to be touched, to be seen, to be desired, yet dare not admit it to anyone, not even to yourself. The succubus is the darkness whispering, "Let go. No one will know. No one will judge." And that whisper makes a person shiver and take one more step so that morning can return and condemn her, as though throwing stones at a mirror. There is a curious detail threaded through many legends. The succubus clings to sleep, tonight to the liminal state between waking and dreaming. That is no accident. Night is when daytime masks fall away, when the brain is no longer busy with duty and begins to release what was compressed and buried. Many have felt the crushing sensation of waking, yet being unable to move, a chest heavy as if a stone were set upon it, a mouth that wants to cry out while the throat stays mute. In that darkness, any sound can become footsteps. Any draft can become the breath of a stranger. The mind, in panic, tries to stitch a story to explain what is happening. And in an era before sleep science, the easiest story is this: something came. A succubus sat upon you. She took something. But if we stop there, the succubus shrinks into a mere biological glitch, an accident of sleep. And she is not that small. She is a symbol, a character in a larger drama, the drama of power and desire. For centuries, societies built walls of morality, often placing the human body, especially the female body, under strict surveillance. Female allure was treated as a weapon, something that could topple men, split families, crack faith itself. When people fear something, they turn it into a demon. When people refuse responsibility for their own craving, they say someone seduced them. And so the succubus becomes a vessel for collective guilt, a way for society to condemn desire while remaining obsessed with it. Here lies a beautiful, dark paradox. The succubus is cursed and secretly worshipped. She is told as a warning and also as fuel for imagination. She is drawn as a beauty to frighten. Yet it is that beauty that makes the story outlive any dry sermon. Deep down, humans carry a part of themselves that wants to stand near the edge just to feel the heart still beating. The succubus allows that to happen within the safe boundaries of a story. You can touch the edge and keep your honor by saying, "It was not me, it was her. Not my choice, but the devil." Return to the image of the young monk. If you set him in the modern world, he could be an exhausted office worker, a person living alone in a high-rise apartment, night after night staring at the ceiling while the city murmurs like a distant sea. He scrolls past endless images designed to strike the nervous system. Eyes, lips, invitations never spoken outright, yet enough to tilt the heart's rhythm. He turns off the lights, but the screen remains inside his eyes. He sleeps, and in the dream, someone comes who understands his deepest loneliness, places into his hands the feeling of being chosen, prioritized, desired. When he wakes, he feels emptier than before. And he asks, "Who took my energy? Who drained the life from me?" The Middle Ages called it a succubus. The modern age might call it other names, but the machinery of obsession remains the same. There is something that knows what you lack, and it gives you exactly that, but only enough to addict you to the sensation of being given. In popular culture, the succubus is endlessly reborn. She steps out of old pages into films, comics, games. When the world no longer fears hell in the old way, she no longer needs to be a mere servant of darkness. She can become a symbol of freedom, of owning desire, of a magnetism that asks no permission. Some works cast her as a villain, some as a victim, some give her a heart, a sorrow, a question. If I am born to be hated for my nature, what other choice can I have? That flexibility reveals what the succubus truly is. A wide frame into which every era pours its own anxieties. Once it was fear of sin. Today it may be fear of addiction, manipulation, synthetic intimacy, the fear of becoming an energy source for others to harvest. But do not forget, the succubus is also a story about the cost of repression. The more a society forbids, the more refined its demons become inside the mind. When emotion cannot be spoken, it becomes obsession. When desire is shoved into darkness, it learns to speak through dreams. The succubus, then, is like a spiritual reflex under pressure, a personification of what has been denied. She arrives as an opponent you can fight, because sometimes it is easier to battle a demon than to admit you are lonely, craving love, needing to be touched with something gentler than hunger. There is another perspective, colder still. The succubus is not only the demon of lust, she is the demon of blame. In many stories, her presence becomes a tool that legitimizes violence and punishment. If a woman is judged too alluring, too free, too far outside the norm, she is easily draped with the shadow of the succubus. And once she is draped in it, society feels entitled to punish, because they are no longer punishing a human being. They are punishing a demon. This is one reason the succubus is frightening in a painfully real way. She reminds us that myth is not only entertainment. Myth can be a weapon. A name can become a verdict. So if the succubus is a mirror, what do we see in it? We see our desire and the shame stitched to it. We see the need to connect and the fear of being wounded. We see the power of attraction and the way society controls attraction through morality and prejudice. The succubus stands at the intersection of many roads: sleep and wakefulness, instinct and law, longing and prohibition, pleasure and guilt, freedom and restraint. She is not simply a female demon arriving to destroy. She is a question. Why is what makes us feel most alive also what we fear most? In old tales, heroes defeat demons with steel and fire, with talismans and prayer. But with the succubus, the battlefield is rarely the doorway or the open field. It is the inner world. She attacks not with claws, but with promises. And the only weapon strong enough to resist a false promise is often not prohibition, but understanding. When you understand what you truly lack, you are less easily fooled by what imitates it. When you recognize your loneliness, you seek a real hand instead of a dream embrace that leaves you empty at dawn. When you learn to see desire as part of being human rather than as a crime, you no longer need to build a demon to carry your responsibility. Yet do not turn understanding into a hammer that smashes every myth. Sometimes the succubus is also the art of fear. She is the old language of night, told in images that have smell and rhythm. She is wind given a face, the body's tremor clothed in story. And the story, though frightening, has a strange comfort. It makes people less alone in what they feel. When you know someone else has also jolted awake at night, heart pounding, certain someone just left the room, you feel you are not the only one the darkness has touched. Myth, in that sense, is an invisible community of those who have been afraid. So who is the succubus in the end? Ask a medieval priest, and he will say she is a demon, a trap for the soul. Ask a folk storyteller, and he will say she is the night's shadow, a dangerous beauty hunting the careless. Ask a modern psychologist, and they might say she is the mind giving shape to desire and fear in a sleep state. But ask the darkness itself, and it might only laugh. The succubus endures not because she is real in a physical sense, but because she is real within human structure. Wherever there is longing, prohibition, loneliness, shame, there is a space just wide enough for a female demon named Seduction to step inside. And this is what keeps the story haunting us even now. The succubus does not need to dwell in deep forests or hell. She can live in a city of lights, in your bedroom, in the phone beside your pillow, in the glossy invitations of the modern world, where everything can be bought and every feeling can be simulated. She is the sensation of being drained after a night that seemed satisfying. She is the bitterness in the mouth after sweetness. She is the truth that some things look like love but are only hunger, look like intimacy but are only transaction, look like freedom but are, in fact, a soft chain. So if tonight you hear a strange breath in the darkness, if you feel a velvet promise sliding across your will, do not rush to name a demon, and do not rush to laugh at the myth. Ask a harder, braver question. What am I lacking that the darkness can impersonate it? Because sometimes the only way to defeat the succubus is not to lock the door tighter, but to turn on the light inside yourself. Look straight at your longing, name it, place it where it belongs, so it does not have to hide as a demon. Then if the succubus still stands at the edge of the bed, she will no longer be a predator. She will be only a shadow. And shadows, as we know, exist only when something in you is blocking the light.